What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be taking a look at Neptune in the 5th house and what it's like to have Neptune in the 5th house in your astrological natal chart. So, let's get into it. What is Neptune? Neptune is the planet of spirituality. It corresponds to how we spiritualize our life. It represents our dreams, our fantasies. It also represents things like addiction and escapism, all of that. The 5th house, the original house of Leo, is the house of creative self-expression. And the 5th house, and planets in the 5th house, help lead towards self-realization. The 5th house also represents our social life. How are we spending our time? Are we spending it fraternizing or are we creating, right? Also, it's the house of children, as children are a creative form of us. Alright, so first thing you got to know about Neptune in the 5th, and listen closely. These are the helpless romantics, and I'll probably put the title there. Helpless, not hopeless. I'll let the cat out the bag. Hopeless romantic is Neptune in the 7th. Neptune in the 5th is helpless because there's an unconscious need to experience romance or seek out romantic experiences within this house. Neptune is exalted within the sign of Leo. So with it being in the original house of Leo, there's a layer of exaltation here. And so what you have here is that Neptune wears these rose-colored glasses in every house. Second house, you really got the glasses on when you're counting your money or you're really assessing what you value in life. So within each house, the intensity of the glasses will vary depending on the task. With that exalting nature of the 5th house, the 5th house Neptune person is wearing the rose-colored glasses all day long. And they can go 35, 40 years before they realize that they're wearing the glasses, and they unconsciously chase that feeling. So on a more serious note, they are helpless romantics because Neptune in the 5th house has this unconscious need to create and to creatively express itself. So there are many ways in which they can do that. One, on the, I guess you could say, the low vibrational side, we are seeking to realize ourselves or our significance through the way we can impress others. Because 5th house and romance corresponds to creativity, because to be romantic is to be creative, right? Just thinking, what can I do for this person that is out the norm, right? If you're cooking for them, creative. If you're writing them a poem, that's really Neptune in the 5th, all right? So the person is naturally geared towards doing this. So let's say, and it's actually like a part of their being. As an artist, myself, we thrive on inspiration. This inspiration comes in many different forms. You know, to write a song about something heavy, you might have to go through a heavy experience or be tuned in to that heavy experience. When we reflect back here in Neptune in the 5th, the artist can't be the artist without their thrill or their seeking of that experience. So although Neptune in the 5th can result in a person going through a whole bunch, having like a very active dating, like dating a lot of people, possibly not being fulfilled, at the same time, that act serves as the inspiration to create. So it brings me to my next point. When these people are involved in romantic partnerships, they feel extremely spiritually alive. So for some, depending on the rest of your chart sets up, some Neptune in the 5th people at some point in time, when they've entered the call, will attract a partner who is spiritually inclined and then gets them down the rabbit hole. Before that, they may, attract people who are unavailable. They situations where they get their heart broken, because the next one with Neptune in the 5th, and it's a thing about that they learn, is that it may come off too strong. and it may move way too fast. So let's say we have a Gemini, someone with Gemini energy. This could be Gemini moon, Venus, sun, whatever. And then they have this Neptune in the 5th. That can be someone they're giving it up on the first date. Man or woman, they're like, okay, fuck waiting, let's go to it now. And these are the people, they can experience 3 years worth of a relationship with someone in 2 months, and then it's over. And it can be over for a number of different reasons. But what I've seen is that, things, especially in regards to the heart, they get better over time. So Neptune in the 5th, my advice for you, keep your foot on the ground. When you meet someone that you're interested in, do not start planning your wedding. Do not think of them as to what you want them to be, but get yourself to consciously, be present in the moment. Okay? So then the next thing with this position is that, so I started off there because a lot of Neptune in the 5th people get caught. They get caught at that side where they're just chasing love. And so within that, you have the people who are the established artists. So the next point I want to make here is that Neptune in the 5th is a consummate artist in some type of way. It can be your traditional poet, painter, writer, okay? But in this new age, right, thinking about, we got kids growing up with Neptune in Aquarius. Your creativity you can adjust or innovate through your creativity. It doesn't have to be traditional artists. It can be someone, let's use an example. Let's say someone has Neptune in the 5th in Aquarius. They may have some 8th house action in the sign of Taurus, right? So let's say the person really likes smoking weed, and they become like an expert on weed, and they start growing weed. And they grow weed really good. So they fuck around and start their own online business of selling marijuana, okay? Or showing people how to grow it a particular type of way. There's a special destiny in the creative sense attached to Neptune in the 5th. Now I'm gonna give you another one. So that's the person who's directly like an artist. And then that artist is still a helpless romantic. But I explain to you why. Like, they need that inspiration. Then you have the next person who now this is, if you have Neptune in the 5th and then you have other Leo energy, or certain scenarios are definitely going to produce an individual who the inner artist is within them. They feel it. They want to express it, but they seek it out in another. So this is the person that exclusively dates artists or Neptune types, and then that can have its own issues. All right, with that person being detached, unavailable, so on and so forth. And then lastly, you have the individuals who your destiny is attached to your child. And I'm going to reference the game here, y'all. Remember the game with Tia Mowry, my man Pooch Hall, what's my man's name? And Regina, I forget her last name. But Malik, right, the character who played, I think his name is Jose or something. The character who played Malik Wright, and Tasha, his mother, Tasha, she can be seen as Neptune in the 5th, y'all. So Neptune in the 5th can indicate having a child who can do something special. Now, aspects are definitely going to play a part in this, okay? Aspects and sign. So it can, so if, say Jupiter's here, say this fifth house Neptune is aspecting Jupiter in the 2nd. It could create a scenario, your child become really wealthy, really wealthy in life, and you benefit through there. Or your kid may say it's connected to Moon, and you had that artistic inclination but never did anything with it. You give birth to someone who is an artist from day one. So very interesting relationship with the child. And then lastly, it can represent having a child with, you know, possibly special needs or being in their own world, stuff like that, okay, that may struggle with Neptune things. Those are all things you want to keep in mind. And yeah, I've done lots of studies, and certain things happen with Neptune in the 5th. Along with 7th. So, helpless romantics here. So, what's the remedy here? The remedy is to stop chasing. Honest to God. That is really it, y'all. Stop chasing, because when you're chasing, you're expending energy. And it's a weird thing, because it's like, depending on the rest of the chart, you can have someone who is too intense. So let's say we have this Neptune in the 5th with like someone with a Scorpio stellium. They even meet people and then just be way too intense, and then they run people off. So the wisdom here is like, when you just like try to learn the flow. Try to learn the flow with this position. Take it easy. If you're that person who like, you know, like you're ready to get it in after a couple dates, I mean, to each his own, but it would work better to wait and be mindful of your expectations. So people, this is going to go with 5th and 7th. So I'm going to reiterate this. Yeah, Neptune in the 5th can project a lot of expectation onto their partner to fulfill them. And normally the ways in which they want their partner to fulfill them are ways in which they're capable of fulfilling themselves, which is like this thing with 12th house and Neptune. All right. I want to say, I'm not going to say Neptune in the 5th house shouldn't get married. They're very capable. It's liable to happen, but, you know, more than likely, it's going to end in a divorce, because the thing with Neptune in the 5th is that, you know, I learned this in college, and I took a class about sexual psychology. You're talking about like love and intimacy. You know, when a relationship begins, you could, that feeling of that honeymoon phase, realistically, it could only last for a maximum of 2 years before the natural elevation of the relationship starts to decrease. Not get worse, but the spark. So what happens, Neptune in the 5th needs this spark consistently. And as an artist, I can tell you, like, if you're fulfilling yourself in that way, you find that spark, you find that high through those creative endeavors. But then you have the individual, like I said, they just project a lot onto their partner, and then the more you project, the more disappointed you become, because everyone can't meet your ideals or expectations. So remember, there's a need for greater compassion here. So choose wisely when you dismiss people, because you could be tired of a relationship because it's kind of like ran its course of like passion, but it's an overall solid relationship. But then the Neptune and the 5th person may all around just like cut ties and move on, or they start having affairs. Okay? So this is what it is. It's House of Leo. Alright, y'all? Anybody out there with Neptune in the 5th knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, I can go on and on with this position, but it's a wonderful position. If you have this position, feel free to chime in. Let me know what you think. If you need a reading, click the description link. Send me an email. We'll set something up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do so now. Till next time, peace.